is URJA THAKORE. I'm the Kathak dancer, teacher and choreographer based in Milton Keynes, and I welcome you all to Munch UK Live. This is a platform, a very unique platform, recently started and curated by Meera Kaushik and her volunteers, a team of volunteers. So I would firstly like to start by thanking them by inviting me on this platform to talk about my artistic journey. So thank you, Meera Kaushik, and thank you to Ambika, Shubhalakshmi, Suhani, and Vidya Patel. Thank you for doing a fantastic job. I am welcoming you into my life. This is my house where I live in Milton Keynes, and I just wanted to take you guys with the journey to about the life I started. I was born to a lovely couple, a very unusual couple, two very different people. My mother is an artist and my father is a doctor. So I come from a very unique family where I got the best of both the worlds, and that's how I'm the second child in the family, and younger in the larger families. I'm extremely pampered by all my siblings and cousins and everyone. So when I was, this is a story which my mom used to tell me, and that when I was 4 years old, she had put me into Bharatanatyam classes. And why Bharatanatyam? Because she herself is a Bharatanatyam dancer, and everyone, including her and her sisters, have learned Bharatanatyam. So for her to put me into Bharatanatyam classes were very usual. And but there was a normal complaint from the teacher that I was not paying any attention and I was being very naughty in the class. And so she was kind of struggling to understand that someone who really likes dance, why is she not able to understand and enjoy dance? And she happened to take me to a performance by Sitara Devi. And she had a habit of kind of at the end of the performance to go and take blessings from these great masters, and she took me along with her, and she asked me to take her blessings, and I touched her feet, and Sitara Didi asked my mom that what is she doing, and my mom was like, she's learning Bharatanatyam dance. And she looked at me and she said, no, ye bachchi kathak sikhegi, usko kathak sikhao. And that's when my mom kind of started thinking that, yeah, actually that makes sense. Why don't I make her try Kathak class? And at that time, Kadam School of Dance by Kumiben was in South, and we used to live in North. And she took a journey from North to South to kind of go and attend the classes. And Kumiben said that she's very young to start a class. So I was 6 at that point, and she was very young to start the class. So, but she's most welcome to come and sit in the class and observe the class, and then I'll decide. So my mom used to take me very religiously, I remember, to these classes, and we used to sit either outside or inside. And she did that for a good couple of months, and I think that's when Kumiben thought that there is a real interest, more than from daughter, it's more from the mother, who has got more interest for her to start learning dance. And that's how I kind of started learning dance. And I would like you to enter my dance studio. So this is my dance studio. My shoes on, and so it is actually a living room, but I've converted into a dance space. So I'm just going to sit here. So if I kind of just show you a photograph of me dancing at a very young age, as you can see. So that's how I was introduced to dance. yeah, so that's how I kind of started learning dance, and because my mom is also a singer, so I started learning music with her. I used to go and attend all the classes with her, and I remember very clearly when she was learning in her classes, either it's classical or even if it is uh, light music. I would always be there with her and sit in the background, and either I'm either kind of making fun with other kids whose parents are also learning there, or I'd be learning music. So from a very young age, I've been exposed to this kind of atmosphere, and one doesn't realize how much that has impacted the way I look at music, the way I look at dance. The other thing which was very unique, and I would really like to mention this over here, is the observership is something which was very much instilled by my father. I remember we used to always play a game that he would just change a little bit in the house, and I have to come and find out what is the thing that he has changed in this house. And that actually sharpened my observation skills, and again, these are the skills which kind of is now very useful to me at this particular time. So I started learning dance and music regularly, twice a week, and used to, at the age of when I was in 4th grade, I took part in all Gujarat competition for monologues, and that was something, a drama written by my aunt, and I got first prize in that. So that was also something which I had explored at that very young age. So an ability to perform on stage was something very, it happened like every time we used to all gather up in the house and family, everyone had to present something in the house, and that's how the performance fear has kind of almost, I would not say disappeared, but it has kind of definitely helped in that nerves. I used to learn dance as something which was very natural, and I didn't oppose or anything like that. But when I was in 11th standard, Kumiben had asked me if I would be interested to take it a little bit seriously, and my point blank answer was no, I don't want to take it seriously because I wanted to become a doctor. And it was very unusual because, like every other parents, mine actually told me that you are more suitable for art than science, so you should take up arts, and I actually didn't listen to them, like every other child. I said no to Kumiben, and then I had to take a gap year, couple of gap years, and I cleared my pre-medical test, which was very tough, but the circumstances were such that I couldn't take up medicine, and I was completely heartbroken. So I started thinking, what is that I enjoy most apart from these things? Was I like to create spaces, and I thought, okay, let me go into civil engineering, and I started doing civil engineering. This was the time when I really realized that I really miss dance, and I remember telling my mom that as soon as I'm back in the city, I'm going to go back to dance and music. So I came back after finishing my civil engineering, and came back and also did my interior designing diploma course, and I was learning in Kadam. So when I came back, I had always learned with Sandhya Ben and Sandhya DESAI, who is one of the most senior student of Kumiben, and she was teaching at that point. And I came back, and Kumiben wanted to really test me at that point, so she kind of asked me to go, really asked me to start from lower levels, and I used to kind of go every week. She would kind of put me into next class, and so on and so forth. So I remember Sandhya Ben advocating to Kumiben, saying that why don't you ask shall I ask her to come for the morning batches? And I remember having a very serious conversation with Kumiban, and Kumiban was like, if you're going to leave, then you leave now, or else you continue. And I said, okay, I'm going to continue, and I promise that I'll be very sincere about it. And so she asked me into the morning batches, which was heaven for me, because morning batches were for people who are very special, and they had to perform, and they had a possibility of performing. So I was very excited about it, and so I kind of started giving a lot of attention to that performance side of it, and I used to really enjoy. Simultaneously, I was working in a interior designing firm, but there was a condition to this firm. I had told them that every morning I'm going to go for a dance class, and you cannot stop me, and but your work will not suffer. And they were like, okay, as long as our work is not suffer, we are fine. And they allowed me to continue that. So I was extremely thrilled about that. In 1997, I told my mum that I want to start Pagrav dance. So Pagrav is an organization which was originally started by my mum and her sisters to promote folk dances with a very unique twist. So they used to kind of take a lot of classically based songs and kind of use it in a very folk presentation. And they did it in 83, 84. So I kind of, in 97, I told my mom that I want to start this, and she was like, if you want to start, you start, and we have all your support. And with all my uncles and like mamas and mashis and mamis and masas and everyone, they were like standing like a rock behind me, and I did my first ever full length 12 pieces performance in purely on folk in 1997. I made Kumiban made a guest of honor, and she came to see the show. Next day, she invited me into the office, and she was like, so yesterday's show was okay. And I was like, okay, cool, man. And she was, so what do you do during the daytime? And I was like, I work in a firm. But she said, but you are here every day, pretty much. I said, no, I have put a condition about me not able to stop the dance classes. And so she was like, how about if you teach in Kadam? Is that something you would be interested in? And I was super, super, super happy, but I was trying to really compose myself, and I said, yeah, Kumiban, I would love to do that. And inside I was screaming on top of my head, and I said, and she said, okay, so then you are hired, and you start coming from today evening, and you have to come and assist me, and you have to help me, you have to observe what I'm doing. So that's how my training of being a teacher started, under the guidance of the teacher. And so being a greedy, I would say, I went back to the office where I was working, and I said that I don't want to leave the job, but I want to work both the aspects. And so I'll work in Kadam, but I will also do your work if that's okay with you. And again, they said, if you're comfortable with that, we are happy with it. So I remember few months of my life, I used to get up at 7:30 in the morning, go to this office, then go to Kadam, where I used to get trained, then again go back to office, and then again go back to Kadam where I was teaching, and then again come back to office and finish my work around 11:30 and then go back. So that is how I continued for good 2-3 months. And that's when Dad stepped in, and my did as well. And he said, this is not acceptable. You have to make a decision. You can have either of it. And I gave a really good thought about this, and I kind of decided to take up dance full time. And I really value his advice at that point, because not that I was not able to do both, but I think I was able to give more justice when I had more focused time in dance. So it was a fantastic thing to do. And by that time I was performing with Kumi Ben a lot. And one day she again called me in office and she said, sign this document. And I signed the document, and I didn't even ask her what was it. And she was like, I asked her, what is this? This is for Kal Ke Kalakar. You are going to go and perform. So Kal Ke Kalakar was a platform for people who are considered as the promising artist for tomorrow. And so there were lots of things which Kumi Ben did, where it would not, like, she would not say it on your face that you're fantastic or you're doing great job. But there are subtle ways of doing it. And I remember this being my first ever photo shoot. And I remember this dress, she came with me to buy this dress, this sari with me, and then she designed it herself. And so this is a very special photograph and dress for me. So I performed that. At that point, I wanted to kind of do something more extra. I understood how I was teaching and everything else, but at the same time I wanted to understand the nuances and the complexity of what the dance form has. So I told Kumi Ben that I wanted to give exams, and she said that, okay, you go ahead, start preparing. If you are stuck, we are here. So and I started preparing, and I started giving exams, and I did Visharat from Akhi Gandharva Vidyalaya. And by that time we were performing with Kumi Ben. We travelled a lot of places. So this was when Kumi Ben was awarded Kalidas Award in Bhopal. So this is where we had, this is a fantastic memory. What a lovely setting it was. And this is when we went to Rohini Bhatte's Institute for a performance, and this is again a very enriching experience to just observe these people talk about dance and be there in that atmosphere. And that's how I kind of my journey in dance in India was. And then I got married and came to UK in 2003. My first ever performance was in Nehru Center, and this is a bigger photograph, so much nicer one. So I performed there my first solo, and after that I got Jai Vishwadeva had approached me, and I got my first independent solo performance in UK. When I came in this country, Kumi Ben gave me 3 numbers, and she said that, take this number, if you are stuck, again, same, tell me, but I would want you to carve your own path and work it yourself. I'm always there. So it was, but I had made a promise that I'm going to kind of survive in this country, and in all the 3 numbers which she had given me, I immediately realized that whatever I have done in UK, in India, is not zero. I've got that experience, but it has, as such, no value in this country for now. So I have to carve my, as Kumi Ben said, I have to carve my own path. And I started working towards it. So I started working with, first people I contacted was Academy, and I remember having a conversation with Meera, who was the director at that point in Academy, and she gave me a performance where I performed in waterscapes. So that was the first time I was meeting artists in UK. I also took part in some research and development program for Sonia Sabri, so again I was trying to network, and I was trying to meet people. But the skills which I had to observe, keep the mouth closed, observe, and keep the mind open, was something which I was doing a lot. And Kumiben came in 2004, and she did an Ekatra piece with the dancers in UK. But again, I had to audition for that piece because being fair. So these are the qualities which I have always kind of still taken with me. So being fair with the general public. So even I had to audition for that piece, and I kind of yeah. Sorry, I was just keeping a tap on the time. So I got selected, fortunately, and I was part of Ekatra. That was when my association with the dancers in this country kind of grew a little bit more. I developed some lovely friendships in that time, and later that piece, when they reworked as bells, I was invited to be one of the choreographers. So me, Amina Khayyam, were the two choreographers, and of course Kumiben's choreography for Ekatra was being reworked a little bit, and we did this fantastic piece with 8 sculpture and 8 aerial artists and 8 Kathak dancers, and we presented in Trafalgar Square. And that one piece is something which is really close to me, and I really love it. It's a hardcore Kathak piece, and at the same time it's quite contemporary in all the senses. It was a fantastic opportunity to do that. At that point, I wanted to do something of my own, and I've always realized that as the time passes, I wanted to have my own voices, and that's the reason in India I started Pagra. So when I wanted to have a very similar kind of thing in this country, for me to start Pagrav here again was a very natural process. And Pagrav means sound of feet, and I was very much, I again kind of took permission of my mother, because I feel that's her baby, and I said that I want to start here, and again she and her sisters kind of very happily allowed me to have Pagrav in this country, and I started Pagrav here and did my first production, Bahara, and again all that production was something which was very observant of people whom I was watching here, because when I came here in 2003, I really didn't understand big fuss about summer, and I was fussing over summer in 2004, so I instantly realized the need of sunlight in our life, and that piece was about the longing of spring rather than the spring. And I was working with 3 dancers, including myself, and 4 live musicians. And after this piece, I had a conversation with Akram Khan, and he kind of suggested me to go and shadow a theatre director, Team Supple. And it was an amazing experience where I had an opportunity to shadow Team Supple when he was working with I think around 100 theatre artists, where he was selecting his people and how each people were responding to the same text in a different way. It was very similar of me to have a look at how each body is reacting to movement. So for me, I was finding it a similarity between what Kumiben has been doing, and I have observed her, and what Team Supple was doing, because your team was working in a theatrical setup, and here Kumiben was working in a body movement manner. So I really enjoyed that process. After that, I also had an opportunity to shadow Kumiben for a Swapnagatha festival, where she was choreographing for Akash Odedra and Yuko, and it was again an amazing experience. I knew Kumiben for such a long time, but this time I was almost like a scheme for her, and I was seeing her so closely, and it was an absolute a biggest learning curve for me at that point. After that, I was really interested in kind of looking outside and oh, we are running out of time. Okay, so it was absolutely interesting for me to see a wider context, and I was interested in doing a contemporary version of whatever I was learning, or contemporize. So look into movement from my perspective in this present time, and that's what contemporary is for me. So I started looking at, started applying to platforms like Resolutions and that kind of platforms where I had this opportunity to work in that medium. To again further enhance my skills, I decided to go for a master's degree in Roehampton University, and I was very thrilled to be part of it. But when I went there, I was even more thrilled because there was a lot of other options available, and I really kind of, I remember having this conversation with Anne David, saying that am I not allowed to be part of this choreographic module as well, even though it doesn't fall into my mode. And she said, if you are able to convince that particular faculty, then maybe you can. So I remember kind of crossing the hurdles every line, and I was very fortunate to do the choreography model. It really made me understand to look at contemporary dance in a very different way. It really opened up my perception and how I can imply that in my current practice. I was also kind of fortunate to do a festival in Milton Keynes, which was a Milton Keynes festival in 2012. So I had a very, in UK I had a very wide and variety of life, and I also had an opportunity to do a classical work. I also had an opportunity to do a contemporary work where I was working with contemporary dancers with my understanding and my vocabulary and their body. And now I'm working with neoclassical work, which is about how I'm going to look at the classical movement from my present perspective, and that's where I am. So I did kind of try to wrap up a little bit quicker, but I can not thank enough everyone who has come in my life and kind of thanked me, kind of helped me, all the mentors from Teresa to Eka to Eva to Assis to Anugiri, to everyone who had kind of helped me and shaped me the way I am today, and helped me to have PDC, my choreographed dance company, which I now call it PDC, now, which works in a 3 tiers, where I am kind of there is a community level where I'm doing all my teaching, then there is a youth level, and then there is a performing level. So I just kind of help with the help of these people. I recently also had a fantastic chat with Farooq, who helped me to kind of understand more about the structure of the company. So I'm really fortunate to have all these people in my life who have guided me in different senses. And I'm extremely thankful to all my students, because I learn constantly from them. Fortunately, all my students are very thinking students, which is also sometimes a bit of a problem. But it is good because they are challenging me. They are challenging me to think in a different way. And I really value every single one who has worked with me and every single one I have had an interaction with, because that has helped me a lot in the way I talk. It has shaped me the way I am, having conversations to each and everyone from my family to all of my students. I think it is a kind of a good, I'm very fortunate to have a strong family, strong friends, strong students who is kind of constantly challenging me. So that's how I would like to put up. And lastly, as a performance, since COVID-19, I've been working on trying to work on the singing element, which is almost kind of neglected in last couple of years. So I have tried to work, and I just realized that today is actually URJA Devi's 91st birthday, if I'm not wrong, but today is her birthday apparently. And this particular Thumri is something which I really love. It's very, very, very difficult one, and I'm going to try and attempt it. Thumri is sang by URJA Devi and Lakshmi Shankar, and it is called Savariya. चैन कहाँ से पाऊं, अपना दुख किसे सुनाऊं रे, तुझ बिना चैन कहाँ से पाऊं, सावरिया सावरिया हो, तुझ बिना चैन कहाँ से पाऊं, सावरिया नगर नगर में ढूंढत हारी, नगर नगर में ढूंढत हारी, नगर नगर में ढूंढत हारी हो, काहू न पाया खबरिया, सावरिया चैन कहाँ से पाऊं, अपना दुख किसे सुनाऊं रे, तुझ बिना चैन कहाँ से पाऊं, सावरिया। Thank you very much. And please do join in tomorrow again for Shalini Shivshankarji. She's a fantastic Bharatnatyam and Mohiniyattam dancer, and one another fantastic journey to witness. Thank you once again to Manch UK team, Miraji, Ambika, Subhalakshmi, Sulena, and sorry, Suhani. Suhani, that's you. Now you know that it's me who's speaking. Suhani and Vidya Patel, thank you very much, and lots of love. If you have any questions, please do leave in the comment. I'll try to answer as much as I can. Thank you.